Hey, Miguel Dorati back here on the CRP, and we are going to take it outside the cage for a news item here at the CRP. We do uh, tend to cover items as it relates to transgender athletes and transgender sports. We call it trans athleticism here, and we're looking for an even playing field for everybody. Uh, that's more or less how we've touched upon this subject before. But here, with the news that the Vatican has issued a guidance that pretty much rejects gender ideologies. Um, that came out this week. And what they did is they put out a paper which is called a guidance, like I said. And what that means is basically, and I'm going to read to you here from a couple of sources. The BBC explains that the 31-page teaching guidance was released this Monday, and it's titled "Male and Female, He Created Them." So they're going to fall back, obviously, to the to the Bible and to old dogma and things like that for their argument. Now, when I go to a site like the the National Catholic Register, they've got some information on here, and obviously they're going to be for the document or at least the ideology behind the document. And to quote them, the document makes clear, however, it was written to deal with the complicated situation Catholic schools find themselves in, given that the culture has strayed from the understanding that male and female, he created them. The gender fluid ideology denies the difference and reciprocity in nature of a man and woman and envisages a society. It claims that gender is a free self-determination of each individual and the choices he or she makes according to the circumstances of each relationship. So, again, they're going straight at the ideologies of some of the things that, I think a lot of this conversation has to happen so that we can get to the point where there's sports, for everybody and there's fairness and fair play and stuff like that. I mean, there's still going to be a strong resistance here. And again, if the Catholic Church comes in against it, we're going to be dealing with problems not only in the United States, where we do deal with a lot of Catholic, resistance to some of this stuff. But imagine how it's going to be outside of the United States. We've done articles on transgender athletes from South Africa. Obviously, they pop up in, throughout the world. And, to me, those people have gone through an incredible trial to get through because they're probably facing more resistance for their lifestyle than they would in the United States in many ways. Keep in mind, Manny Pacquiao, the boxer, he's come out and said, oh, the Bible's against gays. He's against gays and things like that. So you still get a strong resistance. And here we're in more modern territory with gender ideology and the theories that are being put through. I don't think anything's decided. I think that's what their theories are, right? But, people are going to be strong about it. And again, in Catholic schools, they seem to not know what to teach, or do they keep up with the other schools and teach this new ideology? And the Catholic Church here has just firmly told them, nope, don't do it, The document explains that we should not be co-opted into the assertion of the complete emancipation of the individual from any a priori given sexual definition, and the disappearance of classification seen as overly rigid. So, they say, hey, God created male, female, the whole thing, procreate. It's all, binary, I think is the term. A priori, they're going to get Latin involved here. A priori means it's knowledge like, 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. If you don't know that, you weren't taught it, but it doesn't mean it's not 4. It's always going to be 4 for everybody, for everything. It's just knowledge that's out there, right? So, they consider the male and the female and the procreation of the race, of the humans. That's a given. You don't change that. That's pre-knowledge before, you have to learn anything or anything like that. So it's a steep, that's going to be a mountain to climb. You're going to change people's minds. I don't see a lot of that. I'm not big on telling people how to live their lives or, getting involved in, going after people for having, lifestyles I don't agree with or whatever it is here. But here, I think some battle lines are being drawn, and at the end of it, maybe, we're in a situation where, athletics and things like that become a priority. But again, once again, on a world level, I think in the United States and certain countries, we're a little further advanced. But on a world level, I think there's still a lot to do and a lot to work on in terms of the transgender and especially the transgender athletes. So we will see how people feel about this latest document from the Catholic Church. Obviously, it's going to be controversial, and I was looking, at some of the core of the document, and it begins with, quotes from the Bible again, and it starts with the sixth commandment: you shall not commit adultery. Adultery being, something that defines the male and the woman. And another quote is, I say to you that everyone one who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So again, just harping on the connection between a man and a woman, even, if you want to call it the holy connection, they're going to call it, and how that's sacred. Again, a priori knowledge, and how that, being changed in that the way in modern understanding has it, or at least, the theories that are being put forward, that's what they're against. More quotes from male and female. He made them, or he created them. God is love, and in himself he lives a mystery of personal loving communion. Creating the human race in his own image, God inscribed in the humanity of man and woman the vocation and thus the capacity and responsibility of love and communion. God created man in his own image, male and female. He created them. He blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply." When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. Male and female, he created them, and he blessed them and named them man when they were created. Sexuality affects all aspects of the human person in the unity of his body and soul. It especially concerns affectivity, the capacity to love and to procreate, and in a more general way, the aptitude for forming bonds of communion with others. So that family, that sense of communion, that 1950s America, before the population explosions and modernity and modern times and the internet and stuff, that sort of image, that's kind of what they want, that wholesome family image and stuff like that. And they feel that the LGBT agenda or the transgender ideologies are against that. So they're drawing up some battlegrounds. Now they call for a discussion, but like I said, I don't think they're going into this discussion with their minds open for change. And the fact that they refer to the Bibles and to some of the quotes and to Latin and things like that as part of their argument, those aren't really fluid arguments in modern times, in my opinion. But we'll see how it goes. Certainly a significant document that will affect the worldwide transgender community. So I'm Miguel Dorati for the CRP, providing coverage, and hopefully at the end of the day, like I said, we're in a situation where we're discussing trans athleticism in sports and fairness there, and the community is able to participate in that way. Until then, it seems that there's a lot of work to be done. Very interested in the comments from our fans on this subject. Obviously, it's a subject I know little about, but I'm happy to cover it and to start a discussion. I feel it's a discussion that's worth having. Like I said in the podcast earlier, I'm not big on telling people exactly how to live your lives, or and if I don't like something or I'm against something, I'm not a person that wants to shut it down as long as it's not something that's really affecting me. So I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I do think that this Vatican document was something that is significant and worthy of discussion. So please go ahead, check in with your notes, correct me if I'm wrong, add to the discussion, and go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you can. Even hit that you don't like it if we made too many mistakes, and we'll work on your feedback. But I'm Miguel Dorati for the CRP, Outside the Cage, bringing you issues on the Vatican's recent guidance rejecting gender ideology.